Welcome. Welcome to the real Joseph Latman. I am Joseph Latman. Happy Thursday to you guys. Thank you for tuning back into my podcast. If you're new here, make sure you like, subscribe, share on the way in here. Everybody hit that like button on the way in here. I really appreciate that. Yeah, welcome back to my show. Hope you guys have a good week. I'm looking forward to this weekend. We got Deshaun Watson's return with the Browns versus the Texans. I've been waiting for a long time to watch this game this weekend, so looking forward to that with some friends of mine. Yeah, and then unfortunately the Buckeyes aren't playing this weekend, but we're not going to talk about that. But anywho, um, glad you guys tuned in today because I'm really excited about this topic today because this topic, like a lot of my topics, um, you know, really just go off of my experience, what I've been through, my journey, panic, anxiety, really just life in general. I've had some guests on. I've kind of let them lead the shows at times as too with things that they're more interested in. But for the most part, a lot of things I've talked about with anxiety, spiritually, it's really just all kind of what I've been going through, what I've been through, and just sharing it with you guys. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that have gone through a similar journey I've gone through, excuse me. Maybe not to the exact extent, or maybe just there's always differences and different situations. Everybody's different. We're all unique, but for a lot of people that struggle with, especially with my journey with health anxiety, agoraphobia, panic, all that, we all kind of go through some of the same things in terms of the day to day, just the day to day symptoms, the day to day thoughts, the day to day struggle when you're going through it. And that's what it feels like. It feels like a struggle. And for a lot of people, and this was me for a long time, you feel like, how can I get out of it? You just feel kind of trapped. You feel kind of just feel kind of hopeless. And I think our society as a whole, I think our and I'm not picking on anybody. I'm not picking on doctors. I'm not picking on counselors or anybody. The people that are in the field treating, I think that everybody does. They're doing the best they can. But I think we lack in our society, especially here in the U.S. We lack badly compared to other countries on how to really help and heal anxiety. I think we do a lot more of coping mechanisms, which are okay at first. Like for instance, for me, when I was 15, I started getting it really bad. I had to have certain things help me to just slow down, so I could just literally just think for myself. This was like it wasn't just day to day; it was like hour by hour. Like my mind was just racing nonstop, and so I had to slow down for a bit. But you know, for a while, I slowed down, but I never really felt like I was getting over anything. I feel like I was just like I was doing enough just to feel okay to get by each day. I felt like I was doing okay just to get to a point where I felt a little more comfortable. But as time went on, years went by, it was an up and down roller coaster for me, constantly. Like when I mean like up and down, like there were stretches I do really well, and then there were stretches I'd be kind of back where I was at the beginning. And so it was just constant roller coaster, and I just felt like I was just confused for a long time. And I've told the story. When I moved homes when I was 17, 18, I moved to a new home, uh, and I just had a loss in my family, and so combine those two things, my anxiety. I was doing well for a while, but I had combined those two things: moving, a loss. I had a bad panic attack one day when I was driving, taking somebody home from the airport, just kind of out of the blue. That one was kind of I guess you kind of could say resensitized me to all the fears that I kind of forgot about for about a year and a half up until that point. And so this is when I was 17 or 16. No, yeah, I was 17. Excuse me, I was 17 going on 18. And so when I turned 18 that next spring, I didn't really leave my house, and I knew when I moved into my house, uh, I didn't really leave the house for a long time. I kind of would, as far as I would go, is about a block or two. Very agoraphobic, and just got really depressed. That was probably the worst I ever got. Got really depressed. I just see old pictures of me from back then, just kind of how big I was, and just I looked like depression. I looked like anxiety. I looked like I was going through a rough time, and I was. And it was a rough time. And then I finally got to a point, like I said, that spring. I told the story many times. 2018, that spring, I kind of just I said, you know what? None of this is working. None of this is working. I got to change something, right? And that's what I went on one day. Just went on Google and typed in anxiety on YouTube, and I found the anxiety guy. And then that slowly over time, I started to watch more of his videos, and then that really helped me educate myself more. And then about a year later, about a year and a half later, when I was 19, I started to do better again. I was going out more. I was doing things I hadn't done in a long time. I started to feel like my old self again. And then COVID happened, and I wasn't really scared of the actual what was going on itself. It's just seeing everything shut down. I mean, everything, it all affected all of us in some way. But seeing everything kind of shut down, the uneasiness in society, just something none of us had ever seen. And so, I was kind of like in a routine of I was going to certain places a lot just to help me get out. I was still kind of managing at this time a lot. So a lot of things I was doing was just trying to help me day to day and for periods. And it started to work, started to build my confidence more. But then when everything just kind of shut down and, it just, even right before that, even, I felt like I was starting to head down a hole again I felt like I was just managing was wearing off again. So again, I'm going back and I feel like I was just in this cycle, right? And I would only go so far. Yeah, I was doing much better than I was a year before, but I still wasn't completely where I wanted to be. There was still a lot of things I was holding in, and that was a big part of it. And so up until so after that, so that was 2020, and then once I got to the end of 2020, and then all the way up till August of 21, the beginning of that period, I did okay. I was doing all right. I was biking working out like I never had before. Some of the stuff I was doing at that time, I was kind of like looking back, I was really pushing myself to limits physically, in cold weather too. But I mean, I did it. It was helping me manage though, and so all these habits and things I was doing for all these years were just helping me manage, and they were helping me feel comfortable with myself and to get by, and to where I was almost like I was competing with anxiety each and every day. Like, okay, I'm gonna beat anxiety today, and that's gonna help me the next day, and I'll feel better about myself, right? And so, what I learned in that period, though, especially that period in particular from 2020 to 21 of August, was competing with anxiety, fighting nonstop, and managing really isn't going to get you so far. Yeah, you might do better for a period, and you might start to feel better. And there's a lot of good things you might change, and I did a lot of great changes in that period, especially with just a lot of my habits, my health, and in terms of working out and eating and all that stuff. But just educating myself what I was really going through. I learned a lot and showed myself a lot, but I was still suppressing a lot of things. I was still managing a lot of things, and so the reason why I say August of 2021, if you're new here, if you're not, you probably know why, because I've said it many times, is I kind of hit rock bottom. I went through that summer, and it was that summer was just like a slow. It just felt like a slow death, to be completely honest. Not actually death, but just like mentally, just my spirit, just everything just felt like it was kind of just going downhill. And I just kind of just had enough. I think all the years, because up at that point, that was 6 years up until that point of just, carrying things, and just, there were still things deep down inside that I was afraid to speak up about and say and acknowledge. And I thought I just kind of forgot about it, moved on, it's over with. But I never really addressed these things. And so when I hit rock bottom again, well, I'll say again, but that was rock bottom. And I always said it was, because at that point is when I said, okay, because I remember I had a bad panic attack, which I've shared on this show on one of my episodes a while back, about there was a night in August I had one of my worst ones I ever had. And after that night, that's when I said, okay, it can't get any lower than here. It's time for me to finally start helping myself and doing the real changes I need to do. And really what I came to conclusion was, No more of me trying to handle everything on my own. Trying to solve everything in my own mind. Because at that point, if you're just managing and constantly trying to get by, you're not really. You could be kind of your worst own enemy in a way, and I was, because I was not allowing myself to be free. I wasn't allowing myself to be vulnerable in a good way to help me. I was just trying to maintain, and uh, I think when you go through health anxiety and a panic, or GAD, anything, you try to make change. There's a party that's afraid to make change because it's different. And there's a party that doesn't want to change, believe it or not. And a lot of people hear that, they're like, what do you mean you don't want to get rid of your anxiety? There's a party for a lot of people that you don't want to change because you're too comfortable in what you've been doing, and it's unknown. You're going to be going into a whole nother world in a way that's unfamiliar to you. It could seem kind of scary because it's so uncertain, right? And it's very easy to fall into depression. And that's what happened to me. I was doing a lot of these changes and managing, but there were still some things off. So then when I kind of hit that low point in August of 21, excuse me. Okay. I kind of hit like this gray area, which I've referred to many times. And so what I'm getting at today for today's topic, and I know I kind of ranted a little bit here, which is okay because I'm trying to keep this as raw for you guys as possible. The topic for today's show is about anxiety, lies, and traps. Because when you make that decision, this is what happened to me. When I got to my lowest point and I made the decision, okay, I can't get any worse than what it's been. I got two choices here. I could either look at this as the end all be all, this is my life, and be the victim and just go backwards and stay in that state of living in the past and all that stuff. Or I can make the choice for myself and say, okay, well, this is the worst. If this is as bad as it's going to get, okay, my worst fears never happened. Probably, and it won't. I have the choice now to help myself and start becoming step by step who I want to be. And I can start expressing myself, and I can start being and saying and letting out the things that I've always held in. And so the reason why I want to talk about lies and traps that anxiety does, really primarily your subconscious mind, your inner child, that other side of you, is because this is kind of where I've been learning, and this is kind of where I struggled in the past. When you hit that gray area, a gray area feels like depression. Why does it feel like depression? Because you're letting go of that old. Remember, like I said, anxiety is a bunch of habits, thought patterns, daily things. We all know what it is. The symptoms, how we interpret things. Just our whole life basically is controlled by anxiety and everything we do in a way for so long. And so when you start to go against that and you start to act in new manners and in your true self and what's truth, and letting go of that, it's going to feel like a party who's died, right? Which can make you feel kind of depressed because you're kind of like, well, who am I? That's why it's called a gray area. And I didn't really know about this. My man Dennis really explained it to me, and he's explained it in his podcast. And I got a clip today I'm going to share later on where he kind of really breaks it down, because I feel like it's very important that you understand this, because I need to understand this myself to help me further my growth. And that's, when you get in that gray area, when you start making changes, when you start acting in who you want to be, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. And in fact, it's going to feel very uncomfortable at first, right? And you're going to feel a lot of defense mechanisms, a lot of, it's very easy to have a lot of thoughts just to make you cave into that fear of change, cave into that uncomfortable feeling, cave into that uncertainty. And so, like, I wrote a couple of the lies and the traps that kind of pulls us back into that old state that we really don't want to be in. That's not our true self. It's our artificial self, right? That's not who we really are. We weren't made to live in fear like this, fear all the time about our health or whatever it is, right? God didn't make us to have boundaries and live in fear, but it's not your fault for your anxiety, but it's also your choice to help yourself. And so when I made that choice and I got this gray area, there's a lot. Some of the things I wrote down that, and these are some of the just kind of basic ones that I hear from a lot of people is, well, I can't change. Like number one, I can't change because there's going to be a lot of struggle involved with it, right? It's going to seem too hard. Yes, anxiety healing's hard. It can be hard at times. In fact, very hard at times. But it's really not as hard as we make it out to be. And what I mean by that is, you know, there's no everybody's timetable is different for healing. Everybody's um, you know, some people heal at a faster rate than others. Some people get over things at a faster rate than others. But don't view healing as like this struggle, this hard thing. That's a trap because basically what it's telling you is that's too hard. You don't want to do that. Just stay where you are. Well, no. In reality, is what's really hard and what's really a struggle and what's really pain is what you're doing. That's hard. That's a struggle. It's so again, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. This is where I think words are important. How you phrase things. Like, understand what you're going through. And really, what I'm going through is just change. It feels uncomfortable. There's a lot of resistance with it, but that's all it is. And once you start to get comfortable with those symptoms and understand what they are, and it's game over. And so again, that's a trap though, to make you afraid of that change and make you afraid of that. Another one is your body has suffered for too much, for too long, too much. You put so much strain on your body, so many symptoms. You're going to have an ailment or something. That's all a lie. Anxiety and panic's never killed anybody, and it never will kill anybody. It's never resulted in anything. A lot of things from people's habits, bad habits that people have. But again, anxiety is just symptoms are just your body's normal. That's a mechanism built within you. We have a protective mechanism inside of us to alert us when there's fear. Our mind perceives things as fear. It's like if there was a tornado coming at your house, you wouldn't sit there and be like this. No, a lot of people would be like, oh, shit, get the stuff. We got to get in the basement. Or, that's a natural instinct. But again, you have to understand that. And understand, too, adrenaline is within you. That's a lot of it is. Your mind, your body's pumping cortisol, adrenaline. That's all it is. It's just your body's trying to protect you. That's what these symptoms are. So once you understand that, you understand, okay, my body's just protecting me. This has never hurt or killed anybody. Nothing's going to happen to me if I move on. There's no damage. No damage has been done. But again, that's a trap. That's a trap I've had to deal with, especially with people with health anxiety, because they feel like something's going to happen. No, it's not. Nothing's happened at this point. Nothing's going to happen. Your doctor told you you're fine. Last time I was at the doctor was right before COVID. I remember my doctor looked me in the face. She's like, you can keep coming back, but you're just wasting your time. Basically, what she was telling me was, Joseph, you just have anxiety. I know you. I've looked at everything. You have anxiety, right? You're a hypochondriac. She was right. And so I took that and built off that. That's a good point. That's a good starting point. You should think about that every day. Hang it on your wall. So when you have these traps and these lies that anxiety tries to tell you to pull you back into that safety zone, now you understand it. And a couple more is, a lot of people like to use age, or I've had anxiety for so many years. It's gonna take me so many years to recover. I'm too old. It's just who I am. It's too hard for me. That's a bunch of BS. You can change at any age. And if just because you've gone through anxiety for so many years, that's not gonna take you that long, that X amount of years to go overcome it. You could have had anxiety for 6 years and overcome it in 4 or 5 months. I've seen it. Happens all the time. Experienced it. It don't take long for a lot of people. It may take long for some people. It's taken me, like my journey has been maybe a little longer than some people, but I've had a lot of growth. A lot of major growth, especially within the last, not only 7 months since I started this podcast, but hell, within the last 5 months now. Yeah, we're in December. Jeez, the last 5 months, I've had incredible growth since the end of July, early August. a lot of things and taken a lot of big steps. And so again, things can happen and start to take off, and all this is just like, it's like, uh, action breeds confidence, and it's just one step on top of the other. But also understand too, in this journey, like I said, with going back to the first one about struggle, setbacks are inevitable. You're gonna have setbacks. That's just part of it. You're gonna have setbacks. And so, but again, those setbacks aren't really, they're not backwards. Everything's forward. Everything you're doing is forward progress. Because those setbacks always make for what? A better comeback. They make you stronger. You learn more and more and more. So you're always actually making steps forward to top where you want to be. And so, those are kind of some of the things I've, main lies and traps. Age. Am I gonna have a ailment, or am I suffer for too much beating on my body? It's gonna be too hard. And then another one too that I wrote down. There's a couple here. You get, when you go back to certain situations or old things, maybe you haven't done in a while. Maybe the last time you did them was a panic attack, right? Maybe it was a bad experience you had. When you start, you know, letting go of that and acting in the new manner, acting the true you, doing the things you want to do, it's very easy to replay the old memories, to replay the old thoughts, to start stressing about the symptoms again and trying to stop the symptoms, trying to stop the panic attack itself or anxiety. When in reality, that's a trap. You're constantly replaying old memories, replaying past memories and things like that. You're going to stay stuck in that. But again, that's where like reframing, like the playlist Dennis has on his channel, understanding what those past traumas were, or memories, whatever it is, and understanding what really happened and reframing those things, making peace with those things, having a better understanding of what happened. So then when you start to move forward again, get out, and you're living your life, you're doing what you want to do, you're pushing forward, you're doing all the things you want to do, you're becoming the person you want to be. When that resistance comes on, those lies, those traps, you understand what it is, and you could tell it, hey, you know what? Yeah, that happened to me last time, but this is me now. I'm not then. This isn't back then. I'm much more mature now, much more understanding where I am now compared to where I was then. And you just have a lot more awareness now. You're just a lot more seasoned. And that's really what it is too. You get in those moments, it's like a battle. You're talking, you got this part over here telling you that you're gonna die, and what are you doing? Get the hell out of here. We're not supposed to be doing this. But then you got your higher self that has to take slowly. Don't be mean. Don't be so aggressive. Don't try to fight it. Just guide it. Ride the wave and guide it. Because the worst thing you can do in a panic attack or anxiety is to try to fight it, because you're adding more fuel to it. It becomes a boxing match. When you kind of just ride the wave and let it happen, it can feel very uncomfortable, I understand. Slow down, slow your pace, go to the best speed you can. Over time, and in a matter of time, it starts to just kind of dissipate, because it realizes, okay, he or she here is not going to do what we want him to do. And you're kind of showing that part of you that, hey, this isn't a traumatic, or this isn't a unsafe environment or situation like we think it is. This isn't a threat, how my mind's trying to perceive me to think it is. And so the more you do that, and you kind of ride that wave, again, things become easier. And over time, you really desensitize yourself from that. And that's what you want. And so, hope this all makes sense to you guys. Hope I explained the best kind of my topic today with anxiety, lies, and traps. Because I feel like this is very important for a lot of sufferers out there. I've been there. And like I said, I'm still going through my journey as well. And so, I'm kind of just sharing share with you guys all the things that I've learned that helped me. Because what helped me was finding somebody and finding people that have been through what I've been through. And so that's my reason to, for this podcast, really, but also, especially with this topic today, because, like I said, you get in that gray area, you start doing change and all that. It's very easy to I see so many people that get sucked back in. And that was me for a while. You do well for a little bit, then you always get pulled back in. It's like this up and down roller coaster. And so, That's my vote for today on this topic. Now, to add more context, like always, I like to add different opinions. And of course, I go to the best there is. My man, Dennis, the anxiety guy. He's got a video on this very topic: 5 health anxiety lies you must never believe. Now, he's talking more in terms of health anxiety here, but really, this can go for anxiety in general, panic disorder in general. And that's why I wanted to explain a lot of different examples today before I played this. This is just a 12-minute video, not that long. I'm probably just going to play it through. I may stop once, but I've already kind of rambled on enough, so I'm probably just going to play this straight through. Yeah, I'm just going to stop talking and get to the video. Make sure you go subscribe to my man Dennis, the Anxiety Guy, if you haven't already. Incredible support, incredible information. Yeah, just probably the best anxiety support there is out there. So without further ado, we get to the video.
Warriors, welcome. Today in this very important video, I want to discuss the health anxiety lies that we continue to feed ourselves each and every day. These lies have turned into belief systems. These belief systems have turned into habits. These habits have turned into an identity. It's our job starting today to begin seeing beyond the health anxiety lies that we continue to feed ourselves. So let's start with number one. The number one health anxiety lie that I see so commonly today in the health anxiety world is that you feel and have been told that you're going to have to live with health anxiety or an anxiety disorder forever. And let me give you a personal story. I remember going to the doctors. And when we go to the doctors, we always feel like the doctor is the authority figure. Whatever the doctor says is truth. It's kind of an unconscious thing that we have. I went into the doctors and I told them my story and the habits and the health anxiety and such. And the doctor said that health anxiety and anxiety disorders in general cannot be overcome. You're going to have to find a way to manage the symptoms, to manage the identity, to manage it for the rest of your life. And in that moment, I kind of went, whoa, wow, okay, well, that changes everything. That changes all my plans. That changes my relationships, right? That changes, the amount of time I spend on myself and creativity. That changes everything. My world, if this is how I'm currently living with health anxiety, then I have to begin setting up my entire life the same way. So to be distraught was kind of an understatement in that moment. I lived with that belief for years, thinking that I'd never overcome health anxiety and an anxiety disorder in general, until, until I realized what was happening. What my belief systems were back in those days were basically a mirror of my authority figures' belief systems, right? Parents, coaches, teachers, professionals, doctors, yada, yada, yada. Anybody that I felt was a professional, more educated than me, more life experience, I never questioned what they told me. And because I never questioned what they told me, I began living my life based around what they believed, not what I believed. So, Warrior, I'm here to tell you something very important in this first health anxiety lie. And that is that trust diminishes health anxiety. Trust. Trusting in your body to heal itself. Trusting that you can, in fact, alter who you are and what you believe. Trust in a future that is unknown and uncertain. Trust diminishes health anxiety. The second,
I just want to stop real quick because I'm not going to stop after this, but I love that point there he made about in the first one about, I heard he's talking about all his authority figures and everybody, people, and I've been through this, so I want to stop here and make this point real quick because there's a lot of things from people I love dearly. And for years, I believed a lot of things about anxiety, things that they said. And then as I started experiencing myself, I realized, hey, man, that's not true. Like, I don't think that's real. And what I started to realize, though, is, and this is kind of really kind of what pushed me to do this podcast in a lot of ways, is because there were so many people that were just kind of going along with that same narrative in their head, and so they try to help you the best they can. All they know is what they know, and for a while, that's all I knew is what I knew. But then I realized, hey, man, there's another there's another way to help this situation. There's another way to help yourself. There's another route to take, right? Like he's explaining here, and so again, that's very important. And I just want to make that point or go off of that point rather, is because sometimes the people you love the most make any people around you can give you shitty advice. Doesn't mean they did it on purpose. They're trying to help you out of love, but you can get really bad advice from people. And that's just what it is. And that's why I like what he said at the end, have trust. Trust diminishes anxiety and fear. Because if you have a belief and a trust within yourself and what you're doing, you believe in the way you're helping yourself and the path you're on, the program, whatever the steps you're taking, doesn't matter what the outside's saying. Doesn't mean you block them out and you ignore them. People, and again, I've also had a lot of great advice from a lot of people, and a lot more actually, a lot of uh, great conversations for years. So many conversations with people I love dearly all the time. Enjoy them, and will continue to enjoy them. But again, when it comes to this here, helping yourself with this scenario with anxiety, panic, and all that, uh, like I said, if you have a plan, have a system, something you trust and believe in, like you said, and just block all that out because you're going to hear that stuff. You're going to hear so and so. I've had it for so many years. I just try to get by. This is what helps me. I take this. I do all that. And, when I get it, I just try to manage it. We don't want to hear that stuff. Stay focused on the truth. Stay focused on you. The truth is, you don't have to carry this around you forever. And so, and again, it might be people you love. And that's where you kind of set some guidelines and just stay focused solely on truth and your mission and where you want to go. And your path you're going down. Because the path you're going down, that I've been going down, that Dennis went down, is a path that a lot of people really haven't gone down because it's just not really something we hear about too much. That there is another way. It's like he said there with his doctor he went to. Say, "Oh, you're just going to have it forever," and in reality, that's not true. And so, again, you have to be aware of all these things. But I'm just going to play it out, and I'll see you guys after.
health anxiety lie that we feed ourselves is that you cannot desensitize from health anxiety on your own. You hear this all the time. And because we feel like, I can't do this on my own, we begin building habits. We become dependent on everything on the outside, everybody on the outside, and in turn, we feel powerless. When we feel powerless, we feel a low level of self worth. And so that's why you can see why health anxiety, generalized anxiety, tends to cycle into depression. Because with depression, there's so much pressure that we've basically felt like we've given up on ourselves. So I'm here to tell you that your healing is determined by your level of independence, moving away from dependence, depending on other things, people, yada, yada, yada. You can heal health anxiety on your own, and you must heal health anxiety on your own if, in fact, this is going to be your new life, your rebirth, your awakening. It's got to be done on your own. So take full responsibility for where you are right now, how you feel, how you think, everything. Trust me, it's worth it. The third health anxiety lie is that health anxiety is a inner sign of weakness. Sign of weakness? Are you kidding me? I'm here to tell you something completely different. Health anxiety is a sign of unconditional, unbelievable love for life. Life and everything within it. Why? Because you'll notice that with a health anxiety sufferer, so much of their external world is perfect. It's beautiful. Health anxiety sufferers have the best support system. You got beautiful, miraculous kids, a roof on their heads, a steady career, a job, creativeness. They have it all. And with health anxiety, one of the things is the immense fear, scaredness of losing those things. And so the person with health anxiety begins questioning their own health so that the worst possible scenario doesn't show up. They feel like if they can stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of their symptoms, their thoughts, whatever it may be, they may be able to come in the way of the catastrophic scenario that they're playing out in their imagination. So we need to understand that health anxiety is definitely not a sign of weakness. Health anxiety is a stepping stone to the greatest version of you as you continue to apply, understand, and apply the teachings you're getting here. The fourth health anxiety lie is that standing guard is the way each moment of every day should go. When I say standing guard, I'm talking about an innate feeling to always be on guard, constricting your body, attaching to every thought, recognizing the criticism when you're speaking to someone. It's almost that feeling that if you let go for too long, then something bad's going to happen. That feeling. And the truth is that I lived with this feeling for so very long until I finally realized what standing guard was doing to me. Standing guard constantly gave me the opposite of what I truly wanted. And your healing is determined by your level of awareness as you're going through the day, recognizing the things that are not serving you correctly and how you want, and recognizing the opposing aspect of those things and acting on them. There's no need to stand guard and waste a tremendous amount of energy and time because it's not helping you with your health. It's decreasing your health. So let's begin seeing beyond the habit of constantly feeling like I can't let go and I need to stand guard all the time. It's safe to let go. The fifth and final health anxiety lie is that your identity is connected to health anxiety. Health anxiety sufferers tend to check in with this health anxiety identity no matter what situation they're in. I'm about to go driving, check in with my health anxiety. Is it okay? No, you can't drive. You're going to be so symptomatic. You might even suffer a panic attack. Okay, no driving today. Or health anxiety sufferers fight and they fight and they fight and they feel like they're exposing themselves to the things they need to expose themselves to become less sensitive towards them, but they're draining themselves so very much that the exposure coaching or therapy is not working, right? You don't need to attach what you're feeling to who you are. Okay? A feeling is a temporary state, it's a chapter in your life. Health anxiety is a chapter in your life. These are the lessons that you can't learn from books. You can only learn them through experience. And when you get to a point where you've learned the lessons that health anxiety is trying to teach you, then you're going to become 10 times the person you've ever been before and enjoy life the way you were meant to. Warrior, remember this. Have the awareness to see beyond your instincts and bodily sensations starting today, because that option is available. Understand that health anxiety is nothing more than a bundle of habits that you have perfected. You've perfected them so much that it's difficult to do anything that opposes them. But let me tell you something, baby steps. Baby steps, and just make sure that you don't judge your progress based on situation to situation. We need to have a long term approach to healing health anxiety because only then will the process be natural. Remember that you are more than anxiety. Comment below, like this video, and if you have any other questions on any of my programs, head on over to this website right here. Love you all.
Another great video by my man Dennis, the anxiety guy there. Awesome stuff. And I put on the screen here, as you can see right there. Nobody said at the end, commit to the long term. And I'm trying to show this today, what I'm really trying to get at today, based on my experience and a lot of other people's, and what you guys might experience as well, when it comes to lies and traps and obstacles, right? What feels like obstacles. Um, there's like different phases of it. And so again, he talked about there, as he says, commit to the long term. I would also say too, hold on one second, let me get this off the screen. Okay. So he talked about letting go, right? And to me, there was two key points there. So, like you said, when you start to let go, you start not to react to these things so much like you used to, and you're not going moment to moment and always trying to fight anxiety. A lot of what he said there is what I said earlier, what I went through. Like situation to situation, moment to moment. Each opportunity's got to be a win or it's a failure, right? When in reality, it's not. It's baby steps. It's a slow process. It's like slow cooked. You know what I mean? It's not. And a lot of this too is our society in general. We have a very our society is a very crockpot type mentality, or not crockpot. Excuse me. It's more of a microwave mentality. It's not crockpot. That's slow cooked. We have more of this microwave mentality in our society, and everything's got to be instant gratification, instant feel good, instantly feel better, or it's not good enough. And so you have to really be aware of that. We live in a society that, that's how we feel. It's can be very influential. We live in opposition, but what we're doing is in opposition to what society tells us to do, which is to everything's got to be instant. Everything's got to be instant gratification. Everything's got to be right now. When anything worthwhile takes time, anything that's really good for you, things that God has planned for you, takes time, right? And so again, I want to get to this point though. When he talked about letting go, when you're in that phase of, and I was in that phase of, when you start to let go of these things, there's two key points you got to be aware of: the gray area, right? And understand what the gray area is. And I'm gonna play a video here in a second. It's gonna be a 2-minute video, and another one of his recent ones where he's gonna break down what the gray area is. 'Cause I feel like the gray area and that letting, when you're in that, it's almost like you were in the phase of, this is where you was right here. You're letting go right here. The gray area is right here. And then now it's trying to get over here to becoming that person. You are that person, right? And be freedom where you want to be, right? And so again, understanding that point of letting go in the gray area, to me, that's the biggest obstacle. It's like that latter part, that last. I've heard this about the last 15% before. To me, in my experience, the gray area, understanding, excuse me, what the gray area is, because there's like a depression stage with it, which I explained earlier. Depression in terms of, because like I said, that old part of you has died away, and so you're recreating, you're becoming your new self, your true self. You're recreating yourself in a way, right, for the better. You're becoming who God designed you to be. No more of that artificial version of yourself. No more, you know, carrying around that baggage and that just all that trauma for so long. That's kind of really you kind of just gotten by with, but it's kind of getting to the point now you just had enough of it, right? And so again, understanding that, and also for my experience was just letting it all out. There's different ways you can do that. You could tell people certain things. I'm not saying like in a mean way, but just letting things out constructively, reframing past experiences, and really just for me is don't leave anything behind. Don't bring anything from the past with you forward, and like negative things. Don't stop carrying around those burdens, or stop carrying around that other people's opinions and interpretations, which I did for a while. Stop carrying around suppressed emotions and feelings. You know, doesn't mean you got to do it all one day. And again, remember, it's a step by step process. We're slow cooking here, but also understand that you don't want to bring these things forever with you. So understand, make the efforts to start to you know just allow yourself to be free, allow yourself to be vulnerable. Don't be scared of that vulnerability. And really, the vulnerability, that's what I would say is allow yourself to be vulnerable, would be my second point, really. And it really goes hand in hand with the gray area. Because when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, what happens? That's what I'm really getting at here. You feel very uncomfortable at first, uneasy. You feel kind of lost. And I felt lost in that period. And it made me revert back. But I didn't understand this. Now I do understand it. And really, just the biggest thing is don't be afraid to let go. Don't be afraid of letting go. You may feel like you're going to lose things from the past. You may lose relationships. You may let go. If you let go of something you may never you want, you may never get it. When in reality, if you stay in the state you're in of this fear and anxiety and panic and just, you know, robotic, artificial version of you, you're never going to reach your goals and dreams and limits anyways. You might taste some of it, you might get a little of it, but you're never going to fully get it because there's always these roadblocks that this fear, it holds you back. You're not, and really, to be honest with you, like for me, a lot of the things when I was younger I thought was my goals and dreams. As I got older and went through this journey myself, towards the end, I started to realize what I really wanted and what's really important. And a lot of my goals and dreams shifted. And a lot of the ones I really wanted from the past that I thought were gone, I was afraid to let go of, were always still there. But it was until I got to a better mindset and a better version of myself, the true version of myself, becoming more of the true version of myself, was when I started to see how obtainable it was. And I also started to realize what things really are, and that things really weren't what I made them out to be in my head. Right? And I hope this all makes sense. But again, it's just more clarity, really. It's more of an understanding. And when you have that more clarity, you have more trust. And when you have more trust, like you said, trust eliminates the fear. And so I'm going to play this video real quick. If I can get up on the screen here. Let's go full mode. Okay. This is one of his recent podcasts he did, I think 4 days ago, I think within the last week, rather. I'll link it below along with the other one I played earlier. But this one's called Five Realities of of Healing Anxiety You Must Understand Today. I'm not going to play all five. I'm just going to play number 4 here because this is kind of hits on with the gray area and the depression part. But like I said, I'm going to link this video below. Go watch this full video. It's only 13 minutes, and there's a lot of powerful information in this one as well, but I really want to hit on this fourth one here, and he talks about the gray area. And so, yeah, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna play this clip real quick. It's only 2 minutes or so, and I'll finish up from there.
Attention. It's still going to try to pull you into anxiety, yes, but you're much more equipped. You're much more equipped going forward, and that's called inner peace. Number 4, you will feel depressed at times, and this must eventually be perceived as a starting point. At some point in this anxiety healing journey, or at multiple times, there will be depression. And when you have depression, that's a sign that you're no longer afraid of the same things you used to be afraid of. And because that's the case, you must see the depression, as best you can, as a starting point, a renewal, the start of an afterlife. You know, I talk to a lot of people and I tell them, I'm going through an afterlife. And they're going, whoa, hold on, you're not dead. I said, yeah, Dennis is gone. There is no Dennis anymore. Because there's no way that Dennis can be here making these podcasts, these videos, these online programs. There's no way the same Dennis from a few years ago could be doing all these things. There's no chance. So when you feel depressed at times, that's a gray area that needs to be filled. And that gray area that needs to be filled means that you are moving in, you are transitioning into a new, brand new identity. And what is an identity? An identity is who I am and what do I believe about myself. Who I am and what do I believe about myself. Not only that, but what am I deserving of? I mean, what a silly question, to be honest. Look at all the limits that we have placed upon ourselves. Limit after limit after limit. But you haven't done this consciously. Like I mentioned, the world is loud. All of the programming that is within that mind, body, and spirit of yours happened at an unconscious level. At an unconscious level. That's why to blame yourself for anxiety would be a silly mistake. Because you weren't the one that created anxiety. Number 5.
So again, you see how I explained there the gray area, what it is, the depression, and what it is. You feel that because you're in a transition. And remember, Mike Antonese and I talked about transitioning in life. One of my episodes way back, and maybe like I don't know, maybe September or August or so, somewhere in there. Just it's in the title, transition in life. But Mike Antonese and I talked about that, and again, that's why I wanted to share that clip real quick because how he explained that. Because I mean, to me, like I said, I think this is, from my experience, this is to me the biggest step or hindrance, the trap. You can either go backwards and revert back to uh, what you've always done, which is viewed as safety, when really it's just a trap, or you can look beyond it, understand what it is, and keep pushing forward, right? And you'll get to the other side. And like you said there, renewal. It's a renewal. It's a transition. That's what the depression is. It's new. It's uncertain, right? But again, I like what he said. Why you feel it is because you're not as fearful of things as you used to be. So it feels odd. And I experienced that. When I would think about certain things, still, and even now, I think about certain things I used to be really fearful of. I'm not as fearful of them because I've kind of desensitized myself from them. So they don't really bother me as much anymore. And so at first, it feels very kind of weird because you're so used to reacting to that. Like, why am I, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to think like that about that. Really? I can? And you can just feel kind of low. Or not low, but you can get kind of depressed in a way because it's just, it's that gray. It's like, that's what a gray area is. A gray area is, that's a place you want to be. But remember, it's that middle ground. It's like the fork in the road almost. That's what it is. And you can either continue going forward. The path might seem a little narrow, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, or you can turn around and run back to what is deemed as safety. When really it's just you're going to stay stuck in that place until you decide to push forward. And it's not easy, but again, I think understanding that today, understanding that gray area, but also understanding, remember, don't have the microwave mentality and don't have, you know, everything's got to be done right now. I don't care what age you are. I don't care what people around you are doing. None of that shit matters. The only thing that matters is you and you getting to where you want to be, and also ultimately getting to where God wants you to be doing God's will for your life, and not, you know, uh, trying to. It's so easy to get involved. It just with the competition that's out there through social media, the constant competition amongst people. We're always competing with each other. People go and do things just to post it for likes and comments and just for approval. Again, you have to accept you for who you are, and that's where the trust really is. Do you trust you? Do you trust yourself? Do you believe in who you are? Because once you have that trust, when you get in that gray area, yeah, it might feel uncomfortable first, but you love where you're heading. You embrace it because you can think for yourself. You can, uh, you have more. You have true inner peace in your life. You're no longer just, you know, um, like you said in the first video, constantly looking to the outside to feel good, to feel better about yourself, and all that. Because that only gets you so far, and it really just kind of always keeps you. It's a never-ending cycle. The goalpost always moves. It's never enough. But you yourself, as long as you're good with you, and know that God accepts you for who you are, and you accept you for who you are, then that's all that matters. And you just take it step by step, and you just trust in the journey you're on and where you're heading and who you're becoming. And just know there's people out there like myself, like Dennis, and many other people out there that have all been where you've been, and we can all get through it together. You don't have to uh, have you don't have to feel like you're stuck. And just remember, the last thing I'll leave you with is when you let go of things, don't feel like you're going to lose everything. Because really, when you're letting go of all these things, you're really gaining more than you've ever gained. So really think about that. You're actually gaining, and you're gaining something that you probably didn't think was possible. I know I didn't think it was possible. I never imagined doing this. And there's a lot of other things I've done recently. Yeah, I'm still not where I want to be. I'm still growing in my journey, the things I want to do. But man, there's a lot of things that have happened to me recently, and especially within the last just 5 to 7 months, within this year, that I would have never, I never thought would be possible, or would have went the way I thought it would go. But again, you got to allow yourself to be vulnerable. You got to uh, allow yourself to be free, and just let go of that stuff. But understand, you're actually gaining. You're not losing. You might think you're losing, but you're actually gaining more. Like I said, you're gaining more than you probably thought you would. And so, yeah, just commit to the long term. That's it right there. Commit to the long term. And another banner I got up here: action breeds confidence. That's it. Those two things. But especially this one here: commit to the long term. Commit to the long term. Don't run away. Don't shy away. Commit to the long term. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with other people. Stay focused on God. Take it step by step. Yeah, it's gonna feel comfortable at times. It could suck at times, guys. And I've that's just part of life too. But again, how do you respond to things? How do you react to things now? You don't. Do you still react the way you used to? That keeps you in that cycle, or do you react in a different way now? Your true self. You react in a more neutral manner. You react to where you don't allow all these things to push you and sway you in multiple directions. You just stay focused on you and who you are, and allow God to lead you ultimately. And so, That's my show for today. Hope this helped you guys. Hope you guys learned something from this. Leave a comment below if you have. Leave a comment below. Yeah, well, I want to hear you guys' feedback. Just kind of what you learned. Um, Something you took away from this. Have you experienced this kind of these traps or things, that gray area I've talked about? Maybe share your journey. You can find me in private, or if you want to message me in private, rather, excuse me. My links are below. Um, if you want to message me in private, I know a lot of people have to do that. It's been awesome to get to talk to some of you guys, and even people I've known for a long time. Let me know that share with me their stories, things I never knew about. And I've known some of these people for a long time, and they share with me some of the similar struggles they've gone through, and we've helped each other. And so you can also message Dennis privately as well. He's usually pretty good at getting back to people. If you want to ask him more questions, that's great. And just find somebody maybe you trust, and just like I said, write it down. Start out by writing it down. Just say it out loud. Just start to express those things out. I say it all the time because it's very important. I think a lot of people are afraid to let go because they're afraid of people's reaction, or people may perceive them, accept them. But there's, it's never what you think it is. And I learned that firsthand. It's never what you think it is. A lot of times it's actually the opposite. And you know what? If people can't sit and listen to you and accept that, then that's their own loss. You just keep pushing forward and doing you. There's people out there that love and accept you, and most probably God loves and accept you, like I said. And so, uh, yeah, that's my closing rant there. But go Browns this weekend, and make sure you guys like, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. Yeah, thanks again for tuning in, guys. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out of here. Gone.